Bidenomics continues to be a vampire, sucking the life out of our finances, draining bank accounts faster than Jesse's when he binges on toupees and tanning beds. But now MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle trying to hypnotize Americans into thinking we're not feeling the bite. Cue the economic explainer.
We need an economic explainer. People are confused, they're exhausted, but they're also doing quite well. So I want to start with prices. They've been an issue for everyone.
You've had inflation that got way too high in the U.S. and in other countries around the world. Incomes didn't keep up with that. I think the economy's doing well, but we get shocks from outside the United States. Have seen that happen with supply chains. We've seen that happen with wars. I think we're kind of keeping our fingers crossed we don't get another.
Well, that was exciting. But Ruhle needs to go to school if she thinks Americans are doing quite well. And why not hop on over to her local fast food joint, which is where Joe has supersized the cost of fries, Big Macs, and even your trusted footlong, all of which have gone up since Biden stepped into office. Harold, this is arrogant and insulting. It's like a comic who bombs on stage and blames the audience. They're blaming the people. Do you think that she's been to a fast food restaurant? She doesn't mind because her organic blueberries are always going to be $12, a pound or whatever they are. I wouldn't know because I eat nothing but junk.
Look, I like Stephanie. I don't necessarily agree with her and Austin, but I don't fully agree with what they're saying there. I think when politicians, we've said on this show many times, when you are telling someone that they're safe, that they're healthy, that they are economically secure, and they don't feel it, it's a hard time translating that into them supporting you when you say that they should be feeling well. The truth of the matter is that credit card delinquencies are up from last year. Serious delinquencies are at 7% versus 4%. We do have two economies. Wealthier households are doing better and don't have the kind of anxiety and the concerns that low and moderate income households have. I think that's a dilemma that the Fed faces as they think about what they're going to do or when they're going to do it, or for that matter, if they're going to do a cut at all, which is something that some people are clamoring for. And the data suggests that they shouldn't do it because inflation can be going back up. But I start where I started. Everyday Americans in the low and moderate income categories are feeling strained. And there's no amount of numbers, there's no amount of data that's going to tell someone who can't pay their credit card bill, who's struggling to renew their insurance and to afford their insurance, or tell someone who's trying to buy gas or food that, look, you're doing better. Don't worry about the high prices. You're going to be fine. Those people do that normally lose elections.
Judge, you know what this reminds me of?
What?
Crime and immigration. Right. Everybody who plays down these issues play them down because they're immune from everything. She does. The prices don't matter to her. Yep. The immigration issue, crime. You have a building, manned with security. You're ordering whatever you want. It's this elitist point of view.
It's an elitist point of view, and I want to say you have good skin for eating nothing but junk.
I think it's the junk that does it to me.
I got to try that. Look, I thought about it, and I said, who are these people convincing that the economy is great? The only people that they're convincing are the people who are rich and wealthy, which is exactly your point. The truth is, they're delusional because 70% of Americans have a negative view of the economy. 64% say it's getting worse, and then 64% disapprove of Biden and how he's running the economy. So you can talk till the cows come home, and that's not going to change anything. With credit card debt, as Harold talked about, being over the top, and the medium fries, $1.79 in 2019 or $4.79 today. A Big Mac went from $5.99 to $12.69. A chicken burrito at Chipotle, $6.50 to $10.70. This is what people are eating. Inflation is more than $12,000 a year just to live the same way you lived last year. So this isn't about, oh, you're stupid, you're not, you're just not feeling it. This is reality. And these people live in their own world, in their own bubble, and that's why people like Donald Trump are going to the Bronx to talk to people, and I guarantee you he's going to have a great crowd tonight, in spite of how hard the Democrats are trying to tell people not to go.
Jesse, you love a good footlong. Are you going to dial?
Sandwich.
Yes.
Sandwich.
Yeah, The assumption was there. And by the way, it's not a sandwich. It's a hot dog.
Yeah.
Are you going to dial back to a smaller weenie?
A 6-inch?
Yes.
I'm going to go with a 6-inch. It's all I can afford, Greg. I don't make Gutfeld money, but I will say this. I did not take Econ 101 in college, one of my biggest regrets, but I made up for it by reading the Wall Street Journal. And I have a financial advisor. I mean, I'm no Harold Ford Jr. or anything, but I think I have a basic grasp of this. So a little econ explainer. If Joe Schmo makes, I don't know, 10% more one year, that's great. Way to go, Joe Schmo. But if rent, insurance, gasoline, mortgage payments, groceries are all up 30 to 50%, then Joe Schmo is getting hammered. And he can maybe not survive that. Stephanie Ruhle can survive that. So why doesn't Stephanie just feel his pain? I thought Democrats were compassionate, and here's why. They can't acknowledge that their policies cause the pain.
Exactly.
They can't acknowledge that the trillions in spending, the opening the borders, which increases consumption and drives down wages, and the war on energy skyrocketed inflation. So they're in denial, and they're telling everybody else, you're in denial. It's a projection.
It is.
And there's another one, which is the $20 minimum wage in California, for example. That has also, if that's the most populous state, right? So that's been a problem. And there's been all these giveaways to unions. So that's happening. I mean, some of these fast food owners, the franchise owners, are trying to figure out how they can keep these places open. They're cutting hours, which means people aren't able to work as much. But liberal elites that Biden cares about, they haven't been inside a fast food restaurant since, like, Michelle Obama told them that this was outrageous.
Yeah.
But where do you think a truck driver is going to, he's got to get from point A to point B in a certain amount of time to make his delivery on time so that he gets paid. And along the way, you might have a fast food restaurant, and who cares? People can eat whatever they want to eat. But they can't pretend that they don't have a huge problem. The other thing is the White House says that this is all corporate greed. How come there's only corporate greed when Democrats are in office?
Right.
It doesn't pass the smell test, and people like in the Bronx, they know.
You know, you kind of touch, there is a scent of a class issue here where they assign a moral value to the things you buy. You know, like who eats fast food? Not people I know. But I have a feeling a lot more people will be eating fast food, particularly the people at Media Matters who got laid off.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.